Where are they clicking? Analyzing Yale's Quicksearch Discovery Interface. And this will be presented by Suzanne Eggleston Lovejoy and Yukari Sugiyama from Yale University. I'm not going to read their full bios at this time, but we will be sure to have them in Schedule if you want to go back and read them again. Suzanne, whenever you are ready, please go ahead and take over the share screen and I'll let you get started.
Okay, thank you. I'm really happy to have my coworker Yukari, one of our metadata librarians at Yale, here with me today. First slide, next slide, then Yukari. She's running the PowerPoint. In the fall of 2019, the Unified Discovery Advisory Group at Yale began discussing a redesign of our Discovery Layer results page. Our layer is called Quicksearch, and it's a Blacklight implementation. You all know what happened next. We had a pandemic, everything was put on hold. But last year we picked up this project again. The reasons for our redesign were twofold. The desire to add our archival finding aids to the discovery layer to engage our novice users with the breadth of our collections, and the addition of format limits from the first set of results you see illustrated here. And it's named for the 6 data blocks based on format that appear in the right. The first 2 data blocks, one is books and the other one on to the right of it, journal and magazine articles. But if in the live view, there would be 4 more blocks down below. So the advisory group first decided on 50 with a format list that display the number of results pertaining to each search. And then the books format block in the center, outlined in red, is the top left of the data blocks. There are 5 results for any search. And there's one exception to data blocks. We link newspaper articles from the format list, but did not give it a data block. And this was with the intention of directing our novice users to other formats first. Block to the upper left of the books block has the 3 formats with the most online results. And then above the block, you can see the jump list. It's a list of the 6 format blocks that are down below. And just above that, underneath the search box, are the data sources links. And all of our formats derive from one of these data sources. So there are 4 primary data sources. Books Plus, which is what we call our logs, which summon special collections, and archives or manuscripts. This is our newest data source and combines finding aid data with archives or manuscript records from Books Plus. Each of the 15 formats is mapped from one of these data sources. And there are also 2 subsets of data sources listed up there. Databases, which is derived from Books Plus, and new arrivals, which is derived from Books Plus and archives or manuscripts. Oh, I'm going to stop my video. Andrea says I'm breaking up. Okay, thank you, Andrea. In addition, we have a new header and footer, which were designed for our web steering committee. And this is going to be consistent across all the secondary pages of the library website. The header points to patron accounts for our different systems, the Quicksearch login, and saved lists, and the Ask Yale Library help pages, chat, and email services. Now that you've had an introduction to our new Quicksearch quilt, I'll turn the microphone over to Yukari, who is responsible for analytics for Quicksearch.
Thanks, Suzanne. So yeah, I'm going to talk about web analytics for Quicksearch. So we have been tracking users' activities on Quicksearch using Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager long before this discovery interface redesign. To explain these tools, Google Analytics is a simple, easy to use tool to measure how users interact with website content. Google Analytics required you to embed a small JavaScript code in the website. To see an example of the JavaScript code, if you look at the Yale University's homepage, HTML data, you will see this code highlighted in yellow on line 107. It kind of acts like microchip. The code uses HTTP cookies to track web traffic and then sends the data to Google Analytics so we can review the data later. However, Google Analytics is limited in terms of customization. We are still using the soon to be discontinued Universal Analytics version of Google Analytics. It is limited to tracking page views and website visits. By default, it does not track raw user interactions, which are important to track to better understand users' click activities within Quicksearch. So here comes Google Tag Manager. Google Tag Manager acts like a control center for Google Analytics. It helps you to create and deploy additional custom tracking scripts without actually editing the website. In our case, Google Tag Manager tracks actionable links for us and sends the data to Google Analytics. Our original click tracking in Google Tag Manager was set up to only capture link text. While link texts are useful and necessary data, they are not sufficient or adequate on their own to analyze users' click activities accurately. For example, the same link text could be used in multiple locations in the same page, and so need to be distinguished. As seen in this example, books was clicked over 4,000 times, but link labeled books exist in both in the jump to section block and books format block. These links function differently too. Clicking on books in the jump to section block jumps to the block, book format block, which is right below here. Whereas the other link in books format block directs user to a different page that shows or results in books format. But in this original setup, both links were counted together. Other examples of tracking link text not being helpful are links for titles and result counts. These labels are populated on the fly and have a number of variations. We do not want to count these clicks by label. Instead, we want to measure the action of clicking on the title or result count. To help distinguish clicks on the same label in different locations and consolidate certain click actions, additional information around links was needed. After a lot of effort, I managed to capture surrounding HTML elements, which indicate the position of a link when it was clicked. In this example, attributes highlighted in red are the new additional information. So click on books in the book block were distinguished from jump to section block. All clicks on different result counts are now consolidated by result count attribute and format block. Similarly, all titles are now counted not by each label, but by result title attribute and format block. These additional attributes help me to see where each link is positioned. With that data, I was able to create a Tableau dashboard, which sort of serves as a heat map. It's not color scale like a heat map, but it still represents where users click on the website with actual statistics. If you want to try out the dashboard, here is the link to a copy of our dashboard on Tableau Public. I will put the link in the chat, or Suzanne will do it for me later. Our official dashboard is stored on a local server and is automatically refreshed daily. The dashboard consists of 6 sub-dashboards for each data source: Quicksearch, Books Plus, databases, archives or manuscripts, desktop collections, and new arrivals. If you click on orange area, a small table pops up to show click statistics for that area, and click again to close it. If you click on the pie chart icon right here on the left, you will see a pie chart that gives you a percentage breakdown of blocks for that data source. Based on feedback from our colleagues, I was also able to add the data range filter and the number of average daily users, sessions, and clicks at the top right corner for ease of comparison. This dashboard is still a work in progress and will be expanded to include other Google Analytics data, such as most visited item record pages and so on, in the future. Next, Suzanne will talk about things we found interesting by looking at the data.
Thanks, Yukari. So this is Yukari's pie chart of clicks on the Quicksearch quilt results page. And you can see that number 1 is the books block in blue-gray with more than half of the clicks. That would be one of those center data blocks. Second is another data block, the journal and magazine articles block, and altogether that's 75% of the clicks. Third is data source. That's the sources right under the search box that underlie Quicksearch. Fourth would be format facets, and fifth, the jump section. Next slide. So if you look at the period in question, you can see the average number of daily users, sessions, and clicks. And I cut this off on February 5th, so it's not quite as up to date. This represents essentially the last half of the fall semester, winter break, and the first 3 weeks of spring semester. The total clicks on the Quicksearch quilt page is 166,000, and the average daily clicks 1,574. Looking at the books block, which you see illustrated on the right, I have a table of the 5 most used clicks. The books block accounts for 56% of all clicks. And about half of the clicks are on a link from the title. Our book collection has 14 million titles, but we have about 5.7 million online books, which is 40%. Clicks to online books are in the 44% of title clicks. So you see online is second. Then below that, you see 3 links, view all results, the block header, and the result count. They all link to the full set of results for the format. So altogether, there are more clicks to the full list than there are to online results. So we can see that our users are delving more deeply into the books collection using the quilt. Next slide. The journal and magazine articles block receives the next highest number of clicks. And again, most of the clicks are into the full text of an article via the full text link, the title, or the PDF, for a total of 64% of the clicks in this block. The view all results, journal and magazine articles, block header, and result count link to the full list of articles, and they account for about 35% of clicks on this block. Beyond that, the format list clicks account for nearly 6% of this page, and the 4th and 5th most clicked areas are data sources in the jump section. So when you add all the format area clicks together, we see that 95% of clicks are into a format and 4% into a data source. We are definitely driving users into formats, but this does confirm that our user studies, which expressed a desire for format limits at the top level. Header and footer areas of the page, the quilt page, account for about 1.5% of the clicks. The high percentage of clicks on a full list of results for a format fits in with our goal of helping novice users dig deeper into our collection. We were concerned that users might confuse the Books Plus area with the books format. It doesn't seem to be the case, or if it is, they're dealing with it all right. The concern that they wouldn't see the data sources doesn't seem to be borne out. And it's interesting that we have a fairly high percentage of clicks going to online or PDF results or full text, but the top online results section of the Quicksearch quilt is not heavily used. It's only getting about 2% of the clicks. Next slide. Books Plus is just the catalogs portion of the discovery layer. So you can see that most of the clicks are on the books block, second facets, third pagination, and fourth navigation and action items. Our Books Plus includes Orbis, the main Yale Library catalog, plus the Morris Law Library catalog, as well as HathiTrust public domain records and Internet Archive records. Next slide. So here we see the top two areas in the Books Plus results page. It's worth noting that we have 15.8 million books and that 41% of the titles have an online link, 6.4 million. So 41% have online links, but the number of clicks to the online format is only 32% of the number of clicks to the title. So I'd say there is perhaps a slight preference for print in this sorting through the Books Plus area. The front cover is a third link, and oddly, this goes to Google Books, but it is not a live link. It's just a static image. So some people may be hoping for full text in clicking on that. The next area that gets a number of clicks is navigation. So this is to paging through the list, and I think is evidence of patrons digging a bit deeper into the collection. Next slide. So this slide represents the clicks on various facets in the Books Plus list. It used to be that the format facet was the most often clicked facet, but now that patrons can select the format facet from the quilt page, we find that author creator is most heavily used format facet on the Books Plus page. And so we can presume maybe that they've already clicked a format. But for those that haven't, the format limits are next, or they may represent people clicking into a different format from this page. Below that, the location facet is the one that allows patrons to choose to limit to a particular library at Yale. And I didn't show on this slide that the display area gets 4% of clicks. This is a place where users change how many records display, the sort order of the list, and can also select items from the list to save to a book bag, send to email, or export via EndNote or RefWorks. We also see about 4% of clicks on the data sources, again, just under the search box. Next slide. Looking at an individual bibliographic record in Books Plus, this we see the pie chart that records where clicks are happening on this page. Number one are request links, and these include services such as page this book, deliver it to another library, a scan and deliver service for articles and book chapters, or requests from our Borrow Direct Consortium or ILL. Online links come second. Action, navigation, description, the Google Books link, and the HathiTrust link. So a lot of interest in online here, or being able to search within a book. Next slide. The holdings, this is a sample record, and you can see that the holdings and access area on the right-hand side receives 74% of clicks, with the request links getting most of those. Then the next area is the display options. And it's interesting that the display in area shows a fair amount of usage of the MARC record. So we think that's evidence of librarians using Quicksearch. I don't know how many patrons really want to see MARC records. Next slide, please. Okay. In the bibliographic description area, we were pleased to see the cite function, which is a new feature and is at the bottom of the record, gets so many clicks. It gets over 3,500 clicks in the top graph. However, we found out through other analytics that this represents that while there are 19,400 sessions in Books Plus, only 1.1%, or about 214, used the cite feature in the same period of time. So a lot of that site clicking is represented by relatively few patrons. Clicks on the author, subject, and the permalink account for the next highest number. The page header is the fourth area of the bib record display and accounts for about 2% of clicks. We wanted to analyze our archives or manuscript results, as this is our newest search. It's not a huge number of clicks, but the four areas that you see listed here account for about 85% of the clicks. Next slide. So items in the result list get the most clicks out of this search, and by far many more than other areas. The titles of these items link to either the object records in the finding aid database or to catalog records in Books Plus. Next is the found in area, and these are the hyperlinks to the collection series and subseries within the finding aid database, and would take patrons into the database at that point. And then online links get a small number of hits, and they are linking out to digital objects or surrogates. When there is a link from the record, if there is one, you'd see a thumbnail on the right, and they are hyperlinked. But we have many more digital surrogates than we have actual links in the finding aid, and that's going to be the focus of a lot of work in the future, to get those links into the finding aids, at which point we will make them display here. In terms of the search limits, most clicks are on format, and it's important to remember that the formats and most of the facets listed here apply only to full catalog records or the collection level records from the finding aid database. Author creator accounts for the second, and then subject genre from the third, and this is where you would find scores and parts, I think, or whatever they put in that area. The document level is one area that distinguishes between archival collections and archival objects. Sadly, we don't yet have a document level for separately cataloged manuscripts. So if you're looking for textual manuscripts, this is not necessarily a great place to search, because they get lumped in with all the archival object records. So it's actually easier to find the separately cataloged manuscripts for texts in the Books Plus area. Other areas are subject region, And then finally, results, navigation, data sources, and display option account for the remaining 14, 12, and 5% of clicks on this page. So we've been wondering if this new search has resulted in increased traffic to archives at Yale, our archival finding aid database. And the answer is maybe. There has been more traffic in the past year. It's up 27% over the year before. And we don't know yet where it's coming from, but we found out there are Google Analytics on that page too. So we'll be looking at those. So it's jumped per day from 1,031 searches to 1,310 users. It's worth noting that we allowed outside researchers back into our special collections in April 22. So the increased usage may be because we now have more patrons visiting the special collections as well. And our Google Analytics don't actually track what's happening in the search box, but from Hotjar heat maps, we can see that there is a high level of activity going on with the search box. So once again, many users are engaging with the search box, which they would have to do to initiate a search, but perhaps just rephrasing their search if they're not happy with what they see. Next slide. And now we have a few questions for further research. We see that the usage of the Jump To section and top online results are relatively low despite their prime positions on the quilt page. So should we keep them? What do users think about this Jump section? If we removed it, it would push the data blocks up higher on the page, and that might have a utility in itself. And rather than viewing the top 3 online results, would they rather see view online results only that would apply to all formats? On the Books Plus item page, most of the interactions are with request links and online links. Should we try adding those links into the result list? And would that get patrons to what they want faster? Or do we want them to necessarily skip looking at the full record? I like for patrons to look at the full record, but should we make them? The citation gets pretty good usage, even though it's not very prominent on the record, and maybe should we move it to a more visible spot, say up next to export? Would users expect to find it there? Next slide. So this concludes our presentation. We have time for questions. And I see one from Andrea Kowalty. Is the bookmark as citation a permalink? Okay, so yes, the bookmark, well, we have 2. There's the bookmark, the search, which is a permalink to the record. And then the citation link is actually formatting the record into MLA, APA, or Chicago bibliography and notes format. So does that answer your question? So I'm going to put a quilt result link into this was on the first page, but I'll just give it to you here in the chat in case you want it. Are there any other questions?
Well, Suzanne, I'm not seeing anyone raising their hand, so I'm assuming we don't have any more questions at this time, but I would encourage anyone, if you think of some questions after we all log off here, to please contact Suzanne or Yukari and give them your questions. I think they'd be happy to follow up with you if needed. So everyone, yes. Okay, thank you. And please, everyone, do a round of virtual applause for Suzanne and Yukari. I think this is a great presentation on how Yale is doing their discovery and their analytics. And I know we are delving into Google Analytics here at K-State as well. So thank you.